Sister Sean, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, when I was looking at verse 4, uh, like I said, because previously it said that Job was perfect and upright and he eschewed evil and he even made sacrifices for his children in case they did something. And I took that hypothetically. I didn't take it as Job was speaking from his own past,
Right,
but speaking hypothetically as if he's a, and be it indeed that I've erred, saying like if even if I did sin,
right.
it still wasn't the case. It's still like it's still not between me and you, but me and God.
Hmm.
So I took that hypothetically.
I think it is, but I think you're right. But I do think that I don't think Job was saying. I mean, what I'm seeing in it also is that he's pointing out that yeah, if that's the case, that is still not. In other words, that's always been the case. In other words, he's not advancing any idea that he's sinless. But you're right; it is put in a hypothetical situation. But it is we can definitely assume and know simply because of the fact that he believes in God that that he's acknowledged sin in his own life. So I think there's a principle that is there's a principle here at play that he's making a distinction between the ordinary types of sin that we have in our life that we deal with on a regular basis versus the scandalous type that they're talking about. But you're right. It is spoken in a hypothetical sense, but he's saying that would not disqualify me from remaining at peace, and he's saying that is certainly not the grounds for um for the affliction that I got, because this is how I was before. I mean, what they're saying about him would be if there was a scandal. He's saying there was no scandal. So the ordinary dealings that we have with sin and the ordinary engagement that we have with wrestling with sin was resident before this happened. So what you're saying has nothing to do, not you, but what his friends are saying has nothing to do with Job. And that's the bigger, broader picture there. But you are right, Sean. He is speaking in a hypothetical way, not necessarily specifically, because it would be something that he would not have felt he needed to speak about anyway. Brother Jeffrey, go ahead.
Jonathan, I also want to add very quickly that Job's friends are speaking as if they have never sinned. The way they are judging Job, the way they are speaking to him, you would think that they are just sinlessly perfect, never been tempted, never been tried, never had to overcome any sort of sinful or spiritual difficulty in their lives. They are talking down to Job, or I should say, the way they are talking down to Job is just plain wretched.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, this is one of the things, Jonathan, that you have brought out in this study that I was not aware of, just how depraved, if I may use that word, wrong, and just plain ignorant and arrogant his friends were when they came to him. They haven't listened to him one iota so far.
Right.
All they've done for 18 and a half chapters is just dog pile on top of him.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, Lord, where's the lesson here for me? Am I like that? Mm-hmm. And I think all of us, Jonathan, then I'll stop. All of us have to ask that question of ourselves in our prayer life with God. Lord, show me where I am like Job's friends, because I don't want to be that way.
Right. Amen, brother. I get it. Brother Chris, I believe you're new for the first time here, I think. You want to add anything to what we're talking about? Brother Chris, you there? All right, we'll move on. Brother Rodney, what's going on, brother? How you doing? You want to add anything to what we're talking about?
How you doing? Yeah, I'm just I told I was in the comments. I'm at my daughter's cheer thing. No, I'm actually really quick because I came in at the last part of it, but I kind of agree. You know, you can't judge people and things of that nature. Really, I'll say this, like, I keep bringing up the job situation, and I just had another conversation just yesterday, And it was like, well, yeah, when you're quiet, they think something's wrong with you, so they don't know what to do with you. But then when you're hyper, you're too loud, and you're doing it. So it's like, I'm kind of trying to find the middle balanced ground. But I've always been quiet, kind of what you guys were just saying, So it's like I've always, nothing's wrong just because I'm quiet. I'm just chilling. I've always been a chill dude. That doesn't make me a bad person because I don't want to partake in whatever, that going on. Kind of relate back what you said the other day. If he did sin or whatever, would they have been treating them differently? And that's kind of how I feel. Like if I was all going back and forth and getting fussy with everybody in the office instead of trying to be cordial, I'd be cool Rodney, I guess. You know what I mean? But because I'm not, who does he think he is? He's not the manager, and it's all these crazy things that I get met with. You know what I mean? So, but
No problem, brother. Sister Meg, what do you think? I know you said you were waiting for this verse. I know you got some ideas on this one. What do you think?
This one is, I just think that when it comes to this, I think what's interesting to me is that, like you said previously, like Job's not claiming sinlessness, right? But if Job were in the place of his flesh right now, instead of focusing on the Lord, he could easily condemn his friends for what they're doing. But he's not doing that. What he's doing is he's saying, hey, if I have an error and that is between me and the Lord. But what he could do, and what most people do, is they get the log out of the other person's eye before they look at themselves. And so I think that Job was in a perfect place, to be honest, to act in his flesh, and he didn't. So I think that's something to gauge from the verse as well.
Amen. Amen. Sister Savannah, what do you think? All right. We'll come back. So let's look at verse 5. Job says to his friends, if indeed you will magnify yourselves against me and plead against me my reproach. Did I read that right? If indeed you will magnify yourselves against me and plead against me my reproach. So Job is talking about, when he says them magnifying themselves, and what he is saying is sort of what he's adding on to verse 4, or was it verse 3? Because what he's dealing with is this: you think that because I'm suffering, and you believe that the reason why I'm suffering is because of some scandal in my life, and that's why I'm suffering. That's why I'm suffering this retribution that you believe is coming from God as a result of some sin. You believe that elevates your moral standing, seeing that mine in your eyes has become diminished. And so Job is acknowledging that they are trying to put him down, but also trying to elevate themselves. That's why he says, if indeed you will magnify yourselves against me and plead against me my reproach. Their accusations to Job, they function not just to defend doctrine, but also to secure superiority. See, they are taking this opportunity to expose what I believe is jealous pride with Job. And they are seeing themselves now as the moral judges over Job. And it's a big problem. And so this reveals definitely a danger that is inherent in many discussions about divine justice. Because there's a lot of believers that believe that they know what should be, that they know when God is punishing, or the grounds for which he will punish you. And they will talk to you about how they view what your struggles are, and they'll tell you what God is going to do about it, which that's not their role to do. That is not their role to do. And so, but this is what a lot of people do. But when somebody sees you down, and I'm talking about a Christian, when they see you down, the greater part of them are going to seize that as an opportunity to project their own moral superiority. It's in nature to do this. This is what they do. One might defend God's righteousness while secretly advancing his own personal righteousness, seeing his own righteousness elevated above what it was before by seeing your decline. And this is happened so much amongst us, and it shouldn't be the case. It really shouldn't be. And we should always be looking for trying to find ways to esteem others as better than ourselves, even if they are suffering, and especially so. Christ didn't say to esteem others better than yourselves only when in your eyes they are. But even when they fall to a low estate in life, we are supposed to still esteem them better, because if you do, it will affect the way you approach them. You will go with sympathy. You'll approach them with compassion. You will not be multiplying curses at them. You would not be laying a bunch of charges against them. But this is what people do very often. They believe that his suffering is equivalent to guilt, and that allows them to stand safely outside of Job's calamity. Like somebody said, they act as though they had no sin at all. That's how they act, as if they have no sin at all. And so his disgrace, Job's disgrace, becomes their proof that they are better than him, that they have the moral high ground, and that they remain stable in their assessments when it comes to their observances with Job. And this is something that all of us have either gone through at least once, and no doubt have been in the place of these men at some point, and perhaps without even realizing it. I think there's a good argument that can be made that these men probably believed that they were genuinely doing the Lord's work. They believed that they were genuinely doing the Lord's work. They believed that they were genuinely speaking on God's behalf. They believed they were the voice of God to Job. So he goes on to say, if you indeed will magnify yourselves against me and plead against me my reproach. And so he's speaking like in a courtroom type of a setting. To plead against me my reproach. He's employing here a judicial image, a courtroom image. They treat his afflictions, the one and only exhibit that has been put forth as evidence in a courtroom. So in other words, when he says they plead against me my reproach, they are saying that they have brought a charge, which is that Job, you have grievously sinned. We don't know what it is, but we know that you did because of your affliction and your suffering. And that is all the evidence that we need. And that is enough to prove your guilt.